The owner of the company, a man in his 70s, was found brutally murdered. His lifeless body lay sprawled on a smaller table adjacent to the main conference table. His head bore a deep wound, as though it had collided with the sharp corner of the furniture during a struggle. The initial observation suggested a tragic fall, but the truth was far darker. According to forensic experts, the blow to his head might have been accidental or staged, but the knife wounds told a different story. The particles of blood and fingerprints found on the knife hinted at a chilling twist. The killer had struck while the old man was unconscious, ensuring a fatal outcome. The scene bore no apparent clues. The assailant had meticulously erased every trace of their presence. Even the company's CCTV system had been tampered with. The door to the surveillance room was broken, and every second of recorded footage wiped clean. It was clear that the perpetrator was no amateur. The investigation revealed an unsettling pattern. Over the years, numerous thefts had plagued the company. The latest crime seemed eerily similar, yet far more calculated. The thief knew exactly where the most valuable items were stored, taking them without triggering alarms or drawing attention. This suggested that someone with intimate knowledge of the company and its operations was involved. Every employee, from executives to janitorial staff, was interrogated. The detectives also scrutinized acquaintances and former workers who had grudges or reasons to harm the owner. Yet despite their efforts, the case hit a dead end. Meanwhile, the city was gripped by a chilling wave of serial murders. Fear spread like wildfire, especially among young women and girls. The victims were those who ventured alone into secluded areas, only to be ambushed in the dead of night. Witnesses described the attackers as a duo, a man and a woman who struck with calculated precision, leaving no survivors. The mounting fear and pressure led to a new directive from the special prosecutor. A task force of elite intelligence officers was formed to tackle the case. Their mission was twofold: to solve the thefts plaguing the company and to bring down the deadly pair terrorizing the city. As the police delved deeper, new complaints surfaced, each one adding weight to an alarming conclusion. The killers, often spotted riding a motorbike, had established a deadly routine. By night, they roamed the streets, targeting the vulnerable and vanishing without a trace. The city's shadows grew heavier with each passing day. One of the victims of the attackers recounted the chilling story. A young girl and a boy approached me while I was walking. Before I realized what had happened, they vanished, taking my bag with them. It all happened in the blink of an eye. Inside my purse were some cash, my phone, and my ID cards. I was stunned. Minutes later, while I was still processing the theft, I received a text message from my bank. To my horror, the robbers had emptied my account. The bank card was in my purse, and unfortunately, the PIN was hidden in a small secret pocket. The police took the victim's account seriously. Officers analyzed the transactions and discovered that the thieves had drained the account at a self-service terminal in the eastern part of the city. The team meticulously reviewed CCTV footage from the bank and managed to identify a young man at the ATM. He matched the description of a known criminal in the police database. The suspect's name was Ria, a repeat offender with a 25-year record of thefts and fraud. His recent release from prison made him an obvious target for surveillance. The police tracked Ria's movements, piecing together his routine. It didn't take long before they apprehended him. During his interrogation, Ria had no choice but to confess. He admitted to his involvement in the recent thefts and provided chilling details about the crimes. However, his statements took a peculiar turn. He insisted that he hadn't acted alone. According to Ria, his crimes were orchestrated alongside a mysterious accomplice, a young woman. CCTV footage corroborated his claims. The cameras clearly showed a girl present during many of the thefts. When questioned further, Ria revealed that the girl was his fiancée, Sheena. The revelation shifted the investigation into high gear. Sheena was quickly brought in for questioning. At first, she maintained an air of innocence, skillfully deflecting accusations with plausible denials. But under pressure and confronted with mounting evidence, the truth began to unravel. Sheena wasn't just an accomplice in the thefts. She was an employee of the company whose owner had been murdered, a company that had been plagued by a series of calculated thefts over the years. The police realized they had previously questioned Sheena in connection to the murder, but had overlooked her involvement due to her convincing demeanor. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Sheena confessed. She admitted to orchestrating the murder of her employer with Ria's help. The motive was as chilling as the act itself. Sheena had used her position within the company to gather information, steal valuables, and ultimately eliminate the one man who could expose her schemes. The police, shocked by the depth of the conspiracy, continued to uncover layers of deceit. Sheena and Ria's partnership had left a trail of destruction, and their confessions painted a grim picture of greed and betrayal. But as the interrogation of Sheena continued, another unexpected twist emerged, a revelation that threatened to upend the case entirely. Sheena began her story with a chilling confession, recounting her journey from innocence to complicity. "It all started with my first encounter with Ria," she said, her voice trembling with a mixture of guilt and nostalgia. "If anyone else had been in my position, they would have avoided him, but I couldn't. Something about him pulled me in." She described the first time she saw him, a young man deftly slipping money from the purse of a woman on a crowded bus. She should have been appalled, but her circumstances painted a different picture. At that time, a close family member was gravely ill, and the mounting medical expenses had left her desperate and hopeless. "I was sitting at the bus stop, lost in thought, worrying about how I would find the money to cover the treatment," she explained. "When I saw Ria, it was as if fate had presented me with an answer. I don't know why, but I approached him and asked for help. Ria, despite being a thief, didn't dismiss her. 'I don't have money with me right now,' he told her, 'but give me 2 days and I'll see what I can do.' True to his word, Ria returned with enough money to help her cover some of her debts. It wasn't a one-time gesture. Over the following weeks, he lent her money on several occasions, never asking for anything in return. Months later, they met again by chance at the same bus stop. This time, they exchanged numbers, and their connection deepened. Over time, Ria confessed his life story to her. She, in turn, revealed that she had seen him stealing on that bus months ago. Instead of denying it, Ria smiled and said, "I don't steal for myself. I follow wealthy people who take the bus, and when the moment is right, I take what I can to help those in need." This revelation stunned Sheena. What others might have seen as criminal behavior, she perceived as a noble act of redistribution. "I was already falling for him," she admitted, "but hearing that only made me admire him more. I felt safe, understood, and even inspired by his actions." Her feelings for Ria grew into love, and soon she became his accomplice. What began as a means of survival turned into a partnership. Sheena learned to pickpocket, steal gold, and break into homes with a finesse that rivaled Ria's own. With his help, she paid off her debts and left her job, determined to make a new life for herself. But she didn't stop there. "I decided to take on bigger targets," she confessed. "I got a job as a secretary at a financial company, hoping to find an opportunity for something bigger. The company's owner, an elderly and arrogant man, made her life miserable. He treated me like a servant, expecting me to cater to his every whim," she said bitterly. "When I rejected his inappropriate advances, he made my tasks even more unbearable, forcing me to serve coffee and endure humiliation in front of guests and employees." Her hatred for the man grew with each passing day. She tolerated the abuse, knowing it was all part of her plan. One day, she noticed him entering the vault, and her sharp eyes caught the code he used to open it. "I shared my discovery with Ria," Sheena continued, her voice faltering. "We planned to take the money and valuables from the vault. It wasn't supposed to involve violence, just a quick job to change our lives forever." The plan was set for a night when the company would be empty. Sheena and Ria broke in and headed straight to the vault. As they were filling their bags with cash and valuables, the door suddenly swung open. To their horror, the company's owner stood there, staring at them in disbelief. "I begged him not to do anything foolish," Sheena said, her voice shaking, "but he lunged at us, shouting. In the scuffle, he fell, hitting his head on the corner of the table. He went limp, and for a moment, I thought he was dead." But the man wasn't dead, just unconscious. Panic consumed them. We were terrified. We couldn't think straight. And then, Ria grabbed a knife and... She trailed off, tears welling in her eyes. He finished him off. I couldn't stop him. It was all happening so fast. The gravity of their actions sank in as they worked to erase all traces of their crime. They wiped fingerprints, destroyed evidence, and ensured no CCTV footage remained. Despite their efforts, guilt began to eat away at them. Our lives spiraled after that, Sheena admitted. The weight of what we'd done followed us everywhere. We knew it was only a matter of time before we were caught. It didn't take long. The police apprehended them, and their crimes unraveled under scrutiny. The case, handed over to the criminal police, became one of the city's most infamous investigations.